Hey guys, how are you doing?
Good.
Hi, thanks for being here.
Of course, to start, obviously, I know that this movie is probably going to get a lot of comparisons to Save the Last Dance and just the feel of it. Because the minute you look at it, you're like, yeah, this reminds me of like the rom-com-ish movies we had way back in the early 2000s. For you guys, when you're being directed by Julia Stiles and it has the feel of a classic Julia Stiles for movie, what for all of you was the most kind of surreal part of being in that and like seeing it come to life as it did?
Well, we don't see movies a lot like this anymore. Like you said, it does kind of take you back to the early 2000s, and I
Yeah.
feel like that style isn't done anymore. And I was really excited about that because we have arguably the queen of that style, doing this film and directing us. I've done a few romantic films, rom-coms, but getting to learn from Julia, who was really a pioneer, I think, of this genre, was an incredible experience. So a big part of the reason I wanted to do the film was just to learn as much as I could from her because she's done this so often and not only done it, but I mean, those films are legacy films. So that's what excited me. And I think what people should be excited about as well, because like I'm 33, you're a couple,
27.
yeah, you're
I'm not afraid.
younger than me. But we grew up on these films, and
Yeah.
now the people our age can, go back to that era. That's really exciting because we don't see films like this often.
And I watch all of those movies over and over. Like I can't even tell you how many times I've seen 10 Things I Hate About You or Save the Last Dance or like What a Girl Wants or like Hilary Duff's Cinderella Story. Like those films you can watch over and over and over. And I feel so excited that we have made a movie that I feel people can watch over and over and over and over again. And that was, something that really excited me about working with Julia, who, as Mena so eloquently said, is the queen of this genre, which is so true. And every single day, like, she would never allude to the fact that she had that crown, but you could feel from how she took care of us on set and how she set everything up and spoke to us about the scenes that she knows this space like better than anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And Gabby, as a producer, when you get a project, I always ask producers because I think it's a fascinating world. What for you is like the first thing that you're looking for when you're, especially with a rom-com, because they used to be all the rage, then they went away, and now it's like so select in what actually gets made. What for you is like the key to making, like getting your involvement in a movie?
Yeah, well, I actually read the book first back
Mm.
in 2016 and actively pursued Renee Carlino, the author, to meet with me.
Mhm.
Took her some time and several direct messages on Instagram, but finally she met with me and we hit it off. We spent maybe 3 or 4 hours together having lunch, and I told her my vision and my passion and why it needed to transcend onto the screen and why the world needed this story. And that was back in 2017 or 18. I mean, I feel like even now, more than ever, we need this story of hope and resilience and love and cosmic connection. So it was more of like, okay, I know this story needs to be told, but who's the right person to tell this story? And piggybacking off of what Mena and Isabel just said, Julia Stiles immediately came to mind. And this was before I even knew if she wanted to direct. So I slid into her Instagram DMs too,
So what
shamelessly.
what you're saying is just start sliding into Instagram DMs.
Everyone's DMs.
You tell
Honestly, I
your
think it's
movie.
it's the way of the future. It's how you meet with people to connect with for work. I know so many people who've met, their own cosmic connection on DM,
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I was just telling Isabel before that I found the video that I took of myself the night that Julia followed me back, and I had a full-blown panic attack. It was 5 years ago, and I was like, Julia Stiles just followed me on Instagram. Oh my God, that means she might be really interested in directing this movie. This would be amazing. So, I mean, it's incredible. It's exciting.
Oh, I love that. For me and as well, I have to ask because this is gonna sound like a weird comparison, but it's not. It is just the instant when I think about a movie about someone who is sick and someone coming to their side, I always think of 50-50, the movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Seth Rogen, because it is a love story in its own way, because it is about two friends and like coming together to help someone who's sick. But those stories are so important because if you have a person who is sick and dying, you kind of have to balance it with somebody who is hopeful for the two of them because the person who's sick might not be. When you guys are adding the romance onto something like that, where you still have to have that kind of balance, what for you both was the biggest challenge of making sure that those two characters felt as full and complete as they did while making sure all those elements were into play?
I mean, honestly, it was really easy with Isabel. I we met when we both found out we were doing the film. We went out to a restaurant for lunch in LA, and then we kind of stayed in touch, but we didn't reconnect fully until I got on set. Isabel had started a little earlier, but it was really easy with you from
Yeah.
the beginning. For me, these kinds of films are always about connection and being present with the other actor. If if the spark's not there, if the chemistry's not there, it's really hard to make the rest of it work. Um, and it was really easy with you. And I feel blessed now because I've been in the industry like 14 years. Isabel's been in it arguably longer. And so when you get to act with someone who's been in the industry so long, not always, but a lot of the time, it's there because we know what needs to be done and we know that that's kind of the most important part about it. So the character work you do on your own and you do it with the director, but you're not really talking to the other actor a lot about your own character work. So when you show up, it's really about having that connection. And in a way, it was very real because Adam and Charlotte have this instant connection meeting the first time. And so me and Isabel didn't really spend a lot of time together. So it was kind of perfect that way.
Yeah.
But it was very easy.
I felt like we got to know each other more and more as we were working because you spend so much time on set. There's, you're in the scenes and you're having these like very deep moments together. And then there's time while the crew is changing things around and we would just talk. We talk about life and, you know, love and future and how the world is and you just really kind of get to know someone and Julia actually she said this to both of us at our wrap, but I know that she had mentioned it to me before that she felt like good chemistry in any movie is just being able to fully trust and respect the person that you're working with. And like, I was so excited to work with Mena. I'm such a fan of his. I really respect you in so many ways. And I trusted that we would just be there to pick each other up. And it felt like every day I would just know my lines. I would look at him and it was so easy. Like, and that's it's such a blessing because, you know, you hear horror stories, but we had a great time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a great time.
Like we are not one of those horror stories.
No, it was so easy. And it was so fun too. Like really, really fun.
Well, I want to ask for my last question. Mean, you and I are the exact same age. I turned 33 last year. But the thing is, we grew up, like I said it before, in the golden age of rom-coms and even teen roms or whatever it was. Like that was what we all had. And these kids don't know what that is anymore. If you had to, all three of you sell this as like, okay, it's this meets this, what are two rom-coms that you would, or romantic movies that you would be like, these are the movies that this really reminded me of?
You ladies will be better at this than I am.
I was
Yeah, sure.
It's a really tough question, actually. Because to me, this movie is different than any. I mean, I like actually your reference of 50-50. I think there's nothing more beautiful and more unconditional than to love someone and take care of somebody. And I think that, very rarely do we see that on screen of like someone coming to I don't want to say aid because Adam doesn't need help, but rushing to their side to be there for him and knowing that this might not work out really in a great way for Charlotte, but holding him close anyway. And I think that that's such a beautiful message. I mean, 50-50, I think is a great reference.
I think visually, Julia's inspiration really came from Desperately Seeking Susan, that Madonna film. And so I think visually, whenever I watch the movie, I'm like, oh my God, my character has all these like leopards and fun colors and crazy hairdos and makeup. And I'm like, I love it. I can see Desperately Seeking Susan through and through.
Yeah, she referenced that a lot. I mean, that was a big
Yeah,
reference.
for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the
Gabby, I
story
would wear everything you wore, by the way. I was like, that's a me ass outfit.
Same. It definitely kind of inspired me to take more risks when I'm getting dressed in the morning. My husband's like, that's too far, Gab. I'm like, but Helen. He's like, you're Gabby. I'm like,
This
right.
is a great, actually, Helen's jacket when we go see Seth perform his like dance, mascot dance.
That like football purple
Football, purple.
corduroy jacket.
It's Julia's now.
She took it.
She took it. She was like, I want this jacket.
And she's worn it to several prep meetings and or post-production meetings. Yeah.
Perfect. Love it. As someone who my nails are literally like animal print, I was
I
like,
love.
great.
Where were you when I was getting my nails done? I
I was
needed
in
so.
New York just being like animal print, please.
I
But thank you guys so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait for everyone else to get to see the movie.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. So nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Have a great one.